Welcome to another edition of the PowerChat. I'm PowerChat publisher Tim Fitzgerald. We're in the beautiful WTC Gig Parrot Studios here in downtown Manhattan. And we are sponsored by our friends in Tulsa at Blue Mark Energy. Pete Hughes is entering his second season as Kansas State baseball coach, and he is darn happy to be here doing it. In the first half of this PowerChat, we go back to his roots in Boston and the journey that brought him to Manhattan, Kansas to this time. Let's get after it. Here's the PowerChat with Pete Hughes. Welcome to another edition of GoPowerCat.com's Power Chat. I am Tim Fitzgerald, joined by Kansas State baseball coach Pete Hughes. Coach, thank you very much for coming in today to our studios. Got a little story for you. So me and a buddy were heading to Aggieville the other night. Can't remember what it's for. We're just going to go have dinner, a couple of beers. And our Uber driver was a buddy of yours.
Yep, he's made his way around town. That's for sure. You know, he, quick to drop my name everywhere he goes. You know,
Wants to be associated with the good feelings.
Yeah, you know, he's a college buddy of my wife, and myself. You know, we all went to Davidson College, and you know, if you're a buddy with me and my wife, you're a buddy for life. So. Yep. You just don't want him hanging out in your basement too long.
Like a good dude.
Great guy. Yep.
Got us to where we needed to go. Brockton, Mass. Is that considered a suburb of Boston, or is it just south of Boston?
Yeah, Brockton's probably 20 miles south of Boston.
Yeah.
Working class, lower to middle class town. You know, back in the day when all the immigrants were coming over through Ellis Island,
mm-hmm.
Brockton was a place of employment because at one point all the shoes in our country were made in Brockton. All the shoe factories were there. So I grew up in a town that was very diverse. You know, there was the Lithuanian village, the Jewish section, the Italian section, and it was a phenomenal place to grow up. Rocky Marciano, you know, 49-0, the only heavyweight to be undefeated, untied in his career. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. You know, 2 world champs from my hometown in the sport of boxing. So great place to grow up. Wouldn't have changed anything.
A lot of Irish Boston stuff going on there.
Yep.
St.
Patty's Day is a holiday. You know, the real St. Patty's Day. I've heard about the other one around here, which is an interesting concept. I don't like it because it's during baseball season, so I try to schedule away for that, you know. The smart coach schedules away on fake Patty's Day.
It's a smart move, yeah.
Yeah, we would have a great day. I mean, and wherever I've gone, I've celebrated St. Patrick's Day, and my first head coaching job was at Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas, and a buddy of mine from Boston was my assistant coach. We had green uniforms. We painted the bases green. We had Irish music playing, and
awesome.
And I think we were the only 2 that knew it was St. Patrick's Day. But we're going to do the same thing this year here. We play Nebraska on St. Patrick's Day. We're going to break out green uniforms and green hats, and it'll be a good celebration.
I was wearing a shirt, a Life is Good shirt with a shamrock on it, on vacation, and a Notre Dame fan walked by and stopped, and I go, "No, I'm actually Irish. I get to wear this. It's Timothy George Fitzgerald. I'm Irish."
That's legit.
Yep,
that's legit.
Yep. What'd you do growing up in Brockton? I mean, were you a baseball player immediately, or box, or anything?
I played football and baseball.
Okay.
You know, my whole life, and Brockton's known for its football as well, and you know, if you grew up in that town, you're going to play all 3. If you know, it was football in the fall, and then you play CYO, church league hoops, and and then you get ready for baseball season, But there was always a game going on, and I didn't know what to do, when I got out of high school, because the only thing I knew was football and baseball. So I made my decision to go to a school that would facilitate that for me.
Yeah.
There was no way I could identify as being one or the other. I wasn't good enough in football to have many options, believe me. So I was going to be the next short quarterback at Boston College to win the Heisman Trophy.
Nice.
Next to Doug Flutie. And I went to Boston College High School. So that didn't work out. So I went to Davidson College, and I played football and baseball there, and had a great experience. And I got to play 2 sports that I loved. I got a great degree. I met my wife there, and but it all happens from we are who we are, and we're defined by how we grow up and where we grow up. And,
yeah.
And Brockton, Massachusetts is a special place.
That's awesome. How often do you make it back?
I'll go once or twice a year.
Good.
The same guys sitting at the same bar stools, the same place.
Freaking awesome. In a way you feel bad for them, in a way you're happy for them.
Yep. Nope, that's home. It always will be. Yeah.
That's really cool. What was it like, Davidson, playing there?
Davidson's a real academic place, and it's in North Carolina, and judging on our conversation and my accent, I grew up a little bit north of the Mason-Dixon line, so I kind of stuck out in Davidson, North Carolina.
Imagine it was a pretty thick accent back then too.
It was. I mean, mine is really softened. When I go back and sometimes I can't believe the way my buddies I grew up with talk.
Yeah.
It's mine has softened, believe it or not. But we went down to Davidson, and I didn't know anything about Davidson College. I just knew I could get a good degree and play 2 sports, and it turned out to be a great experience. I got a degree that was worth something. It opened really my network into another part of the country, and
Right.
Met some of the best friends, my lifelong friends there, and but the worth of that degree actually got me my first 2 jobs in baseball, believe it or not. I interviewed at Trinity University in San Antonio, and the president of the university looked at my resume and didn't ask me any questions about baseball or recruiting or how young I was and all this other stuff. He could not believe that I had graduated from Davidson College because his daughter wanted to go there in the worst way. And immediately, I knew I had the job,
That's amazing.
And then Boston College job opens up 2 years later. I'm 30 years old, and they were looking for a young guy, which I was at the time, who had an academic background, went to Davidson College, and could identify with the student-athlete experience. And I got my second job at Boston College because where I went to school and the worth of the degree.
That's amazing. When you started in coaching, though, you were balancing baseball, football.
My first full-time job was in football. It was at Northeastern University. It was 1AA at the time, and they no longer have a football program. But I was full go, man. I was going to be a football coach, and I was doing the GA deal, paying your dues, restricted earnings, and then I got hired full time at 24 years old. I might have been the youngest full-time Division I football coach, and I worked with some great guys in our staff. One of my roommates was Doug Marone, the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach. Joe Philbin is one of my best buddies, who's former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Worked with me at Northeastern. So we've been around quite a few guys with that profession, but at the end of the day, I wanted to work my butt off at something and be able to compete more than 11 or 12 days out of the year.
Interesting.
So with baseball, I knew I could be a head coach at an earlier age. I wanted to do that. I wanted to make my own decisions. But I wanted to work hard and compete 56 times a year. It always bothered me as a competitor to get beat on a Saturday, and then you got to wait 7 days to come around to feel good again or have the chance to feel good again. But football it gave me work ethic in this sport. It gave me a different perspective that wasn't happening at that time in recruiting. Football coaches recruit the right way. They've done it for a long time, personalizing the experience. I incorporated the home visit in baseball. Back then in New England, it wasn't happening. I think we beat a lot of schools in New England recruiting when I was at Boston College because I approached recruiting from a football standpoint.
You go to San Antonio, be a head coach. A little culture shock in that?
Yeah, I've been a stranger in strange lands, and it's just all about getting out there and meeting people and changing perceptions. And Just hustling, you know. San Antonio was great. We loved that city. I've always judged every move I made. If we take this job, we'll be happy there for the rest of our lives, and we could still be at Trinity University, be very happy. What a great school in a beautiful city.
Back up in the South at Virginia Tech. I got a nephew working on his PhD there, and he absolutely loves it.
Kids don't leave that place,
yeah.
And from my experience, I was there 7 years. Kids graduate, they stay there, because they just fall in love with the town. It's one of the most beautiful parts of our country, and the Blue Ridge Valley. It's we raised our family there, we took the job because I wanted my kids to grow up on a campus. At Boston College, they were 50 miles away. When you have 5 kids and you make $38,000 a year, you can't live in Boston proper. Yeah. You got to move out, right? So my kids are never on that campus, so we took the Virginia Tech job. It was we bought a house a mile from campus. My kids grew up in that environment, and you can't put a price tag on that to raise your family in a college setting, especially like Virginia Tech. And that's why we love Manhattan. I mean, it is Blacksburg, Virginia times 2, and it's a lot of similarities, a college town, but the people make every experience, and the people were phenomenal there, just like they are here.
Coaching at Boston College, though, you mentioned how rough it was on the family, but you took over a program that didn't know winning, and you got it winning. And I feel like, looking at your resume, that kind of made you the coach you are. You kind of defined how you have to go about things, and I was interested to see the rise of that Boston College program. That was impressive, Coach.
Yeah, it was a labor of love. Obviously you grow up there. I already told you I wanted to be the quarterback, so the next best thing was be the baseball coach there. For me to be the baseball coach at the school that you grew up looking up to, my dad went there, my brother went there, he's a double eagle, and for me to get that opportunity at 30 years old, there were a lot of obstacles, but when you're young and motivated, nothing's going to stand in your way and nothing's going to slow you down. We didn't have a baseball field. The outfield was the football practice field. We didn't have a fence in the fall. We couldn't practice on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because football was practicing on the field. So on Sundays after home football games, it was a tailgate area, our infield. First thing we do Sunday morning as a team, we'd walk the grid on the field to pick up chicken bones, broken glass, charcoal, right? And then recruit to try to beat Notre Dame, Clemson, North Carolina, then we get into the ACC. And we did, but that just tells you that there's some really good baseball players in New England. And you got to go hustle and create relationships and recruiting so people look beyond chicken bones and glass and no feel they want to be around you as a coach and your staff and people. So it was challenging. It was I went running for that job. Believe me, I didn't. We had 3 scholarships. Everybody else had 11.7, but it didn't matter to me. And I talked to Gene DiFilippo, who was the AD at Boston College, during the interview. And he wanted to talk salary, and I said, I'll take a pay cut for this opportunity. And he stopped the interview. He said, don't ever say that on an interview again. But that's how motivated I was, and we figured it out, and we had a great 8 years, and I think we left the program in much better shape than when we took it over, and got a lot of kids drafted and a lot of kids graduated.
You had 3 scholarships? Is that what you said?
We had 3 scholarships at Boston College.
How far did you divide those up?
You got between 35 guys back then 27. So, yeah, it's just, and Boston College is a pretty expensive place. So you're really selling the experience, the education, and relationships for people to invest in you and sending their kids there.
Man, I want to hire you as a salesman.
Yeah, I might have been better when I was younger.
We were all more active in those type of things. But eventually, you realize I have to do more for my family, right? And I mean, this isn't working in the long term. How many kids do you have at that point?
We had all 5.
You had all 5. Yeah.
Yep, and they could never get to our games because of the traffic and the commute. Even if I wanted to bring them into a hockey or a basketball game, you got little kids and you're getting home at midnight.
Yeah.
It was logistically, it just wasn't working for what I wanted out of the coaching experience. I wanted to raise a family hand in hand in that experience.
Right.
You can't do it when you're commuting 50 miles. So we took the Virginia Tech job, and it was in bad shape. Virginia Tech was 3-27 in the ACC the year before we got there, and they're 0-15 on the road. We had just swept them at Boston College. So everybody was looking at, why are you taking the Virginia Tech job? Well, one reason, so I could raise my family the right way. You got one chance to do it.
Right.
I'm not going to screw that up. And number two, anytime you can get south of the Mason-Dixon line in baseball, it's advantageous.
Sure.
In recruiting and developing teams, all that stuff. Weather. So it was everything I needed and wanted for my family and for the profession. And we just got to work. We went from being 3-27 in the ACC to the last year before I left, we hosted a regional there. We were 11th in the country, and a lot of exciting things happened there. And I like to think we changed a lot, facilities-wise, and expectations, standards, excitement in the community. Great place to raise a family.
Got to be rewarding when you look back at what you started with and what you ended up with. Really rewarding. Go to Norman after that, correct? Not a good fit?
Did I go to Norman?
Yeah, see, that's what I thought.
Yeah, see, I've been moving forward since I left that place.
Yeah, it just wasn't right, was it?
You know what? When I left Oklahoma, we were a 2 seed in the national tournament.
Right. Not bad.
I'm one of 2 coaches of a 2 seed team to get fired. Had a 3.25 GPA, the highest in the athletic department, the highest in the history of the baseball program. I received the highest award of any staff member for academic and community prowess amongst your team. We raised over $250,000 for childhood cancer research at OU Children's Medical. And I left that place with my head held high.
Did it right?
Absolutely. With everyone coming back the next year. So, sometimes, and it's a good lesson for my kids, we learn a lot of lessons around athletics and being in my dugout and my crazy profession, but sometimes you got to stick up and defend your value system, who you are, despite the consequences.
Right.
And that's what I did. But you know what? The greatest thing that I got out of Norman was coming to Manhattan, Kansas. I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And this is where I belong. You just get there in a different way. Now, for my children, my 3 oldest boys flourished in Norman, Oklahoma. Baseball, everything.
Good sports town. Yep.
Yeah, so it's not always about dad.
Mm-hmm.
But if I left a 2 seed coming back, I feel like I did a pretty good job there, and my head, believe me, has been held high.
Couldn't have been easy for the year in between in which you went to Georgia as the volunteer assistant, whatever it's classified. You left family at that point?
Yep, it was.
Man.
Yeah, this profession's phenomenal, and 99% of the time, you get fired, and then you kind of, it knocks you back on your heels. It's embarrassing to your wife and kids at any level.
Sure.
You're a small town, you grocery store with administrators. It's just not easy all the time. A lot of people lose their jobs, but it's not always on the front page. And I can handle that, but it's not what my wife and kids signed up for.
Absolutely.
So then you got to regroup. And for me, I knew the best thing for me, I only know one way. I got to put a uniform on and I have to work. Now, I was getting paid still for a year. So I needed to be around really good people with a high value system once again, right? And I just needed to work. And that's what Athens, Georgia gave me. And the University of Georgia, the baseball program, opened up their arms and they let me go to work and do my thing. And
Nice.
I put a uniform on around a great group of people. I'm not so sure, I don't know. I'm not so sure I get this job or I'm ready for my next job if I didn't keep myself in that right frame of mind competitively. And I just don't know what I would do if I couldn't go to work every day, and at the pace I'm used to going for the last 30 years.
And your wife wanted you to go to work every day. Not
She
being around
did,
the house.
and you know what? I wish I could have exactly, but I wish I could have had her with me. And that was the first time we've been separated since college, and that's a tough thing too.
Tough.
I took one of my boys with me, and we were going to make it the best experience we could, and a year later we did.
How hard did you come after this job?
Oh, I wasn't very interested in it at first.
Interesting.
Well, just because I knew Kansas State from a recruiting standpoint and what their reputation was, and then from a competitive standpoint, I knew it too.
It's hard.
So it's a hard job, and I just knew where the resources were, and it was in the bottom of the league. Then I looked at the landscape in college baseball. There weren't many jobs opening, when I was done at Georgia that spring. And then I spoke to Gene Taylor on the telephone, and I immediately became interested in Kansas State. He said, "Why don't you just come and meet with us and spend some time with us?" And it was Memorial Day. I went to the Kansas City airport, the Marriott, and met with Gene and Casey Scott, who I've always respected competing against. He's a college baseball guy, and he's a first-class guy. I spent 3 hours with those guys, and I wasn't interested in any other job other than Kansas State.
Interesting.
It's all about people and relationships. I was not going to make that mistake a second time in my career. And I've always gotten the baseball right wherever we've gone. My last stretch of this career, especially after my past experience, I was going to err on the side of people. And Gene Taylor is very, very rare at this level.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a real guy, a coach's AD, and that doesn't happen at the Power 5 level.
No,
and
it's big business.
I told my wife about Kansas State. She goes, "Well, we're familiar with the region, the conference." I said, "Yeah, I'm not too excited about it. It's a lot of work to be done." And then I called her after I met with Gene and Casey for 3 hours, and for me, there was no other place I wanted to work. And they also had the vision of the new facilities and the enhancements, which I always thought if Kansas State got a little serious with baseball, now you got something to sell. There's no reason why Kansas State can't be at a high level in baseball if the administration and your ADs invested.
Right.
And they proved to me they were. And obviously, I just left a beautiful office from a beautiful building, and their word was really good, and I knew that.
If you're going to do baseball at Kansas State, you got to do it. Yeah, you can't get by with. They had some success, but you can't. Not in this conference. Not when you've got in the past Wichita State and Nebraska bookending you, and they're having success. So it's not all the region. That can't be your whole excuse. And they finally got serious about it. Twenton won, and now what they've done with the Twenton expansion is really impressive. And I really want to get into that in the next half of the Power Chat, because I hope fans make it out to Twenton Stadium this spring, and because that place, from everything I've seen, is really impressive. And we're going to continue the Power Chat right after this at GoPowerCat.com. Welcome back to the Power Chat with Kansas State baseball coach Pete Hughes, and it is, as we tape this, about 30 degrees out, so nothing says baseball like 30-degree weather. But when this runs, what'll be next week, you'll be in Texas. That's what bothers me about college baseball, is you got to flee your home to go play on the road for a couple weeks.
If you're at Kansas State.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a big advantage if you're the South. You get to play those home games.
Yeah, I think so, but you can spin it any way you want.
Right.
For me, if you want to go to Omaha, you better have a road-tested, road-tough team. So the only way to do that is to get on the road and play well. So we'll do that early, and I have no problem scheduling games here the first couple weekends. It's uncomfortable, I get it, but I just want the consistency of the weather so we can get our guys playing and not worry about getting games postponed or canceled, So now it's a good challenge for us. We're going to get on the road for 10 days. We're going to play a lot of different people, and so your lineup shakes out a little bit, but it's an opportunity to beat someone. Right.
You come home at the end of February to open your home slate, and you've got a very entertaining slate. I like that you've scheduled in the non-conference, once you get going with Wichita State's, Nebraska, Omaha, Missouri. I think you meet them in Texas, but
that's right.
You've been very regional. It's good. I think it's good for ticket sales.
It's good, but when when I put a schedule together, I do like the ticket sales are in mind, but RPI is number one for me because our goal is to get in the national tournament and play well in June and go to Omaha here. You know, that's our goal. I'm not going to back away from it, and my schedule will reflect that. And in baseball, you build up a higher RPI by playing on the road. You know, you get more value with a road win than a home win. It's 1.25, and when you get a win at home, it's 0.75. Now, that's easier said than done. You got to go and you got to play well on the road too. So 4 games at Stanford, at Texas Tech, they'll be top 5 RPI team. You know, at TCU, West Virginia is always a tough place to play, and their RPI is always protected because they travel a lot. You know, so it's there for us scheduling wise, but it'll be a good challenge. But we need to get good on the road and need to be comfortable on the road.
But before I get into the stadium renovations, I want to back up. Now you have the 19 Ways Foundation. Now explain what that means. You wear number 19.
Lost my mom at a young age. Her favorite number was 19.
Interesting.
So that's an easy one. She was a nurse at a nursing home, so she ran this nursing home where usually people end up because no one wants to, and no one are capable of taking care of these people who need help. And that was her job every day. She put smiles on faces and gave relief to people where she was the only source for that to happen. And then she would come home and she would cook dinner and do laundry for the 4 guys that she was living with, you know, my 2 brothers and my dad. So here's the ultimate giver and the woman who did everything for everybody and always had a smile on her face. So, you know, what better way to have a tribute to my mom and her memory to create 19 Ways, which gives our guys 19 opportunities to do something in the community to help somebody or some organization out that needs a little help, you know, and it gets our guys out in the community, and, you know, that's our clientele, so they better get to know our guys. It shows our guys to be appreciative for everything they have. You know, that there's a little platform for these guys in Manhattan, Kansas, you know, and we don't take it very lightly. And, you know, there's this image of Division I athletes walking around entitled these days with name, image, and likeness, but not our guys. Our guys are privileged to be baseball players at Kansas State in this community. They'll never be entitled in my program. So that's what 19 Ways kind of guards against. And you know what? Our guys do something good for someone. They realize they end up feeling pretty good about it, but they take ownership of it.
That's cool. I
don't tell them to do it. It's that sign-up sheet. They do their own deal, and they do a phenomenal job.
That's really, really cool.
Yep.
That gives them something. Baseball coaches, any coaches, excuse me, should not just coach the sport. I mean, you know, you have to. You're in charge of these guys. You got to leave them as better people, not just better players.
I believe that, and you know, I preach academics because I don't want to babysit academics when they get to the field. I want to go to Omaha. I preach get into the community and be good people because good people are more consistent, and if I get more consistent people, I'm going to get more consistent play. So there's some selfish motive in the background of how I run my program. But I want kids who care about academics, who are good people, and who are really good at baseball, you know. So it's pretty simple formula.
Hold themselves accountable.
Correct.
You mentioned in the first half that the people, Gene Taylor, Casey Scott, that was really important to you. When you were talking to them, what exactly did they say about facilities? Because I'm sure they said we got stuff planned. That's easy to say.
That's right.
What exactly were they telling you?
Well, I've been down that road before.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some of the most beautiful artist renderings that I've never got to coach in. You know, they said we know where we are resource-wise, and they asked me what I thought they were in the Big 12 in the region, and we both had the same answer. Gene understands the gap where Kansas State was, but he also understood how to close that gap, and he was invested in it. He said, the money's already raised. We've already done a quarter of that project, and they have with the field, with the dugouts and the bullpens and the outfield wall, everything's beautiful. So they were committed, you know, but to me, a true vision, The difference between Gene is he turns his vision into cranes and bulldozers and construction guys. So that's what I saw. And there's nothing that speaks to its commitment to a word or a vision than that. And it happened quick. And once they told me, hey, we're going to do this, that we're going to get them in the upper third of our league in resources easily. But I don't really care where they are, top half, top third. If I walk a family in with a recruit and they walk into that beautiful building that we have at Toynton right now, they know one thing, that they got an athletic director in a department that really cares about something that my son cares about. They care about baseball at Kansas State. I don't think they could have said that before these enhancements.
Right.
And that's an investment. And when you invest, you care about something. And that's where I want to send my son.
That's good. That's good. What is it? Go through some of the things they've enhanced here with this latest round.
Yeah, we have a players' lounge. It's just a place where guys can do their homework. There's computers. There's an area for that. There's TVs. They can play their Fortnite or their COD or whatever those guys do. They got plenty of space to do it. It's more, team building, and guys like baseball guys like to hang out. And great hangout area. Beautiful fueling station for these guys for pre-workout, post-workout. State of the art, as good as I've seen. Our training room is a big deal in college baseball, really for preventative stuff, and Blaine Burst does an unreal job with our athletes, and he's got a great facility to do that, hot tub, cold tub. No excuses for our guys they can't bounce back with rehab and injury and prevent injury now. It's a great setup, and that's important in recruiting too. And then you go down to the clubhouse, and you're probably the nicest clubhouse and arguably the best in the country. And
I was blown away. Every
detail they got right. We could talk about that being recruiting fluff, but like I said, it speaks volumes of how invested an athletic department is. And I don't care about all that stuff. I do in recruiting, But a 17 or 18 or 16-year-old kid, it's a big deal, man, and we got something to showcase now. So you walk through that clubhouse, and a great ping pong table, as good as it gets. It's hand-eye competition, right? Walk through there, we got a team meeting room, and it's amphitheater style. We do a lot of our player development stuff there, a lot of video work. We'll meet a ton during the season for scouting reports, pre-game stuff, and we'll wear that room out. And it's important for me to talk to my team at least once a day, and that's a great place to do it.
Yeah, it's impressive. And a replay board. You got a video board out there now.
The video board, yeah, it was needed, but again, they did it right with that as well. We got a great gift from Mr. Edgerly, and that's a first-class video board at what's becoming a first-class venue to watch college baseball. Our offices are all redone, meeting areas. Be a great place for our staff to recruit and present Kansas State baseball to families when they come to town.
Yeah, it's impressive. And you mentioned recruiting a number of times in there. Baseball recruiting is unlike any other recruiting in college sports because of the draft. I mean, you can recruit guys and they're gone. You didn't get them. How difficult is that to balance? I want really good players, but I want to spend my time on players that are going to play college baseball and not get drafted. It's got to be a really tough balance.
We're going to recruit anyone that can help us go to Omaha.
Right.
Now, if he's a first-round threat, we're going to recruit that kid. And if he goes in the first round, it's going to say committed to Kansas State, but it's still good for us.
Okay.
But the challenge is the balancing of that 11.7 scholarships when you don't know what's coming in or what's going out of your program. I don't know how many guys in my program are going to get drafted. And if they get drafted, they want to stay. And so the money that I've already spent thinking they're going to get drafted and leave, now they want to come back, Then I have 10 kids in the incoming class coming, and 4 of those guys get drafted. Now I have a surplus of money. So I'm always calling parents to front end, back end because of the draft and what it does for you. So, you know, I just get a kick out of the whole, you know, name, image, and likeness deal, right? Come hang out and be a baseball player just for 1 week before you start complaining about getting money for your image, right? Our guys, our families are paying 60, 70% out of their pocket just to have the privilege to play a Division I sport. You know, it's equivalency sport. And then I got to deal with that, and only 27 could be on scholarship, so I disseminate 11.7, and then I don't know what's coming and going because of the draft. You know, so it's challenging. I've had, if everyone showed up on my campus my 4th year at Virginia Tech, if everyone, kids in my program came back, incoming kids didn't get drafted, they showed up, I would have been 5 scholarships over. And our compliance people were going crazy. I said, trust me, it's a heavy draft year, right? The day of the draft, that night, we went from being, 2.5 over to 2.5 under. It was a 5 scholarship swing, you know. It gets tricky, but the toughest part of being a baseball coach is managing an 11.7 and shuffling the money around so your recruiting classes are balanced.
How the heck they get to 11.7?
Softball is 12.
So 0.3 less?
I think because I think it's a Title IX thing, which I'm fine with. But I'm just saying let's just do away with equivalencies and give everyone full scholarships.
Right.
You know, that's the toughest part of my job is negotiating with people. I got to try to get kids at the right price and families at the right price.
Just crazy.
Just to get that 11.7 spread across 27 kids, you know. And then we got 8 kids that got to be really good at baseball that aren't on any money to fill out your roster. It's a challenge, and it hasn't changed in a long time. So I don't have any patience for the issue that's out there today with the name, image, and likeness.
And
you know.
players, athletes should be getting paid. And
exactly. You're getting paid. They're getting paid.
Yeah.
That's a great degree for nothing.
If there's extra money laying around, let's do 15, 18 scholarships in baseball.
And they already built that in with, well, yes, but then the cost of attendance, getting on top of that. But baseball guys, they don't even know what cost of attendance is, you know? A lot of my guys are on 25% with a smile on their face, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough, but I'll tell you what, our kids, they're different kids because they're grinders, you know, because they're not given everything.
True.
So when they get a beautiful building and facility like that, and if someone else, geez, these guys are spoiled, our guys aren't spoiled. You know, they've paid the price to have those facilities they have over there right now.
Adding a layer into the degree of difficulty for a baseball coach is the middle is usually depleted by the draft. Your catcher, your pitcher, your middle infielder, center field. It's hard to find those guys, isn't it? Particularly arms.
That's where you got to build your program, you know, and you're saying it, right? If you're saying it, then we're all recruiting. We all have the same. We know what wins, right? Whoever's got the best guy who has the ball in his hand, and we're all going after him. You know, that's why having these great resources and facilities, it just moved us up in the game of getting those guys. You know,
and you feel good about your pitchers this year, don't you?
I do. I think we have enough depth. We didn't have depth last year, you know, so we went out and got some kids via the recruiting and the transfer market, and we got enough arms. You just got to stay healthy. You got 56 games in 3 months. You got to go through we'll carry 18 pitchers, you know.
You can't fake pitching depth.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You know, and if you looked at our season last year, we got exposed a little bit at the end because we kind of wore some guys out, and at the end of the season, we just didn't have enough in our bullpen to protect some of our guys, and we get overextended, and guys get tired. You know, you get exposed in 56 games.
Yeah, it's college baseball is I mean, you almost have to have a math degree to figure out all the moving pieces with scholarships and all that. It's just absolutely amazing to me. Your family, you are a baseball family. 5 kids, 4 sons, 3 play baseball, right?
4 play baseball.
4 play baseball. What's your youngest? How old is the youngest?
He's a freshman at Manhattan High.
Okay, and he's a baseball player too.
Baseball nut, and you know they've all played that sport by choice. I've always listened to my kids. I've never force-fed them anything, but you grow up in my dugout, and you see how great it is to play this game.
Great sport.
It's a lot of lessons learned, good and bad, and they've learned them right along the way. And you know, I'm grateful that they wanted to play a sport. I'm grateful that they wanted to play for me.
Yeah, I couldn't hit a curve or throw curves. That pretty much limited my baseball career. Right
That'll
there.
do it, yeah.
Yeah, I was very thorough about it. I made sure I wasn't going to be playing baseball. Moving to Manhattan with the family, how many of the kids are here?
My oldest son, Thomas, was a grad transfer.
Right.
Played here, was a captain here.
Right. That'd be great.
You know, he was in that clubhouse for 3 months and was unanimously voted captain. That tells you the kind of kid he is.
Mm-hmm.
Just a phenomenal kid, and he's going to make a great coach, and he's going to jump in this crazy profession. He's a volunteer assistant at Morehead State right now, paying his dues with a smile on his face. And my son Hal, my second son, should be the starting shortstop on Friday at LSU. And he's having a great experience there. And
not a bad place to go to school.
No, it's great, and happy for him. He's playing for a great guy, and he's already made lifelong friendships, and that's what it's all about. And see how great he can get at a sport he loves. You know, my son Dominic's a freshman for me right now here. He was with me in Georgia and stayed his senior year there. He loved it so much and was all state and a very good baseball state. He's a good player.
Interesting. So your first year here, he stayed in Georgia.
He went back for the spring to play his senior season there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of tricky though. With Georgia high school state rules, I had to sign over his custody.
Get out.
For him to be.
You got to give your kid away, basically?
Because they don't want families jumping from school to school in Georgia, you know. So you either have an address. I would have had to buy a place or sign over custody. That was a no-brainer. Sent him to a family that, you know. Yeah, former.
I got extras.
Good friend of ours, yeah. We got 5 of them. Might as well grab Dom for a half a semester. But yeah, he ended up having a good year there. Great experience for him. Made him more resilient. And it's good to have him back here and being around him every day. My daughter Grace does not play baseball, but she plays guitar and can really sing. She's
nice.
At the Little Grill every Tuesday night, 6 to 8.
Really?
Every Tuesday night, 6 to 8. Does her own deal. She's more talented than her brothers would ever be in her craft, and they are in theirs. And PJ's, you know, he's with me every day after school at practice with our guys, and he's working at it. So, again, you don't get that, you know, if you don't live and coach in a college town. These kids, they grow up with the 35 guys in your dugouts, and they're around you every single day. Awesome.
This is a great town.
Yep,
great
we
town
love
to
it.
raise kids. It's funny you mentioned Little Grill. I was talking to Courtney Messingham earlier. He was talking about all the local places to eat at. And I said, I find myself, people ask me where to go, and I'll start recommending restaurants, and I'll realize I haven't been to this place in a long time, and yet I recommend it. And Little Grill's one of those places. It's like, just it's a little out of the way.
Tuesday night, man, 6 to 8.
Yeah, tell the wife that. Tell the wife that. Always like hearing Kendrick singing out there.
Yeah, he's great. They've been really good to my daughter.
Okay, so we have this thing on our chats we do. It started on a podcast where we ask our users to give us 5 overtime questions. Started as kind of a running joke. They ask us anything. If the moon was made of cheese, would you eat it? That kind of nonsense. So from our users, I have 5 questions for you. You might have touched on this one first. Favorite feature? You're like your personal favorite of that Toynton upgrade.
My office.
Your office, nice.
My office. Now, a fueling station's awesome. My office, they did right. And, you know, that's 90% of my most important work is done in that office.
Spend a lot of time in there.
But that's where I got to get those families to feel comfortable and say yes. So my office.
I like it.
Yep.
Quick, a Boston restaurant recommendation.
Easy one. Cantina Italiana.
Really?
In Boston's North End. And you got to get the lobster bombolati. Bombolati is a specific pasta just to that restaurant. It's honeycomb.
Interesting.
Get it spicy, and then you go over to Mike's Pastry, and you get your dessert over there. And if you're the cigar shop down the corner, you can go smoke a cigar.
I'm
downstairs.
only going to this place if it's an authentic former mafia place.
I wouldn't say it too loud. I mean, you think you're safe in this Manhattan, but yeah, I'd probably keep that pretty low when you're heading down there.
You know, there were so many places in Kansas City that great Italian places.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm having trouble finding a nice Italian place here, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Manhattan. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a struggle. Kansas City still got some good ones,
Okay.
but their old the River Market area, which has now been totally changed, and that was the Italian mafia. You know,
That's the place.
Yeah.
We need to go there. The best Italian restaurant in Manhattan, Kansas right now is at my house,
yeah, I
without
bet.
a doubt. Yeah.
That's one of my complaints is I wish Manhattan had a family-owned Italian place.
Yeah, we missed that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's got to be good. Can't just be throwing things together. Well, let me ask you this. This is for my
Coming from the Irishman.
yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love Italian. For my buddy Zach here, who doesn't like lasagna. Do you like lasagna?
Zach, if you ate my wife's lasagna,
Yeah. See.
you would say, I love your wife's lasagna. Just to be polite, but you'd love my wife's lasagna. It's a meat lasagna, and you can eat it for days afterwards.
There goes Zach. Real man like lasagna. What was the okay? But back up here. Manhattan restaurant recommendation.
You know what? We loved the Blue Stem right across from campus.
Yeah, that's good.
Love that place. Sunday brunch there is great. And
Have not done that yet.
we love going to, I like Taco Lucha. I love that place. And, you know, you got to get it at the right time. And, you know, we love going out to the Little Grill. It's smoked chicken's delicious.
It is.
Yeah.
We did 80 minutes at Taco Lucha on Friday night or Saturday night for a table.
Is that right?
80 minutes. We're like, what? Why? I mean, we're like fourth on the list. They had a table of 12 in front of us. It was like, oh, what?
Yeah, you got to go at the right time.
Who does
Yeah.
it? But good people, so it was easy. What was the destination of the best Hughes family vacation?
Cuba.
You went to Cuba?
We did. We went
That's on my bucket list.
maybe 4 years ago, right? 3 years ago. We went to Cuba for 10 days. We spent 5 right in Havana and then 5 on the coast. I mean, the greatest place, the nicest people we've ever come across. The safest place. You know, there's zero crime. There's zero drug. We were walking the streets of downtown Havana as a family at 1 a.m. coming back from a restaurant, and never once threatened for a second. You know?
Nice.
It's the old cars.
It's amazing.
Just everything is just it's
Kind of a time
beautiful.
capsule.
It's pristine too. You know, and but again, man, it was the people. It was. I don't like cigars, but if you did, it was probably the Honey Hole View.
I'm not
That
a
and
smoker.
rum, you know. Yeah, but we went there and we played baseball with the locals, and
Awesome.
yeah, we had a blast. It was a great experience for my kids.
That is. That's amazing. That is on my list of places to go. I kind of want it to open up a little more. And,
You know, it was.
yeah, and it's got to close back down.
Just get slowed down a little
Yeah.
bit.
Okay, here's a long one. I'm assuming that the College World Series is your favorite annual event in Omaha, Nebraska. That was a leap of faith right there. But which of these other Omaha events would you be most likely to attend?
All right.
I've been on the Omaha Visitors website. The Sand in the City, where they bring in sand artists. Jazz on the Green, which I assume is jazz. Or the Omaha Fashion Week. These are big events in Omaha.
That's all the choices you're
That's
going
all.
to give
That's
me, huh?
seriously. These were the best choices outside of baseball.
Hey, Omaha's famous for steaks too. You don't want to talk about the
Yeah, that's
the hot dog eating
they're kind of-
contest, the steak eating.
They're fake.
I'd go with the Sandcastle building. You know,
I thought that was interesting.
I
How
think
did that
so.
end up in Omaha? Wouldn't you?
yeah,
want
got to be on
near
the coast.
beach?
wouldn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, that kind of piqued my interest because of that. Yeah,
It's kind of like playing baseball in north of the Mason-Dixon. Coach, I appreciate it very much.
yeah. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Been a lot of fun. Get
Appreciate
out
it.
to Poynton Stadium this season. We'll go watch the Wildcats play a little baseball. Talk to you later.